Welcome to the October 2022 Bead-along for French Beaded Italian Ruscus. Stay tuned. Hi everyone, my name is Fen Lee, bead instructor here at the Bead Flora studio. Throughout the month of October, I'll be teaching you how to make French beaded ruscus. There is something for every level. The leaves are beginner level. You do need to know French beading terminology. I'll put a link to some free PDFs and videos if you are starting from square one. The blossoms are for intermediate beaders. If you are looking for a challenge, give the berries a try. You can make the ruscus with all leaves or add in a combination of blossoms and berries. I'll be doing something different and showing you the assembly first by giving you an overview roadmap of your destination so that you can tweak it as you are beading. For this project, the stem wires that we'll be using are 16 gauge stem wire and 18 gauge stem wire. And these are spools that I got off Amazon. These are galvanized steel wire. And the reason why I like to buy the spools of wire is we can customize the length of the stems that we want. If you are using the standard 18-inch length stem wires that you buy, that's perfectly fine because I'll be cutting these to 18 inches as well. But if for some reason you want a longer length of stem wire, you certainly can. For this project, I am cutting these to 18 inches, like I said, but if you want a longer length, you can go up to as high as 22 inches. Now for both of these gauges, I'll be needing 4 18-inch lengths of wire. So I'm just going to unroll this first and just straighten it as best as you can. And I already have one of these cut to length, so I'll use that as a guide. And here we are. All right, and after that, just want to take your pliers and straighten it out. It doesn't need to be perfectly straight, just straight enough that it's not curved and bothersome. We're going to cut a length of the 18 gauge stem wire. And again, we want to straighten this out. Doesn't need to be perfectly straight, but just straight enough that is not bothersome when we assemble it. And because we will be bending these when we shape them, don't get too out of shape. Don't get too bent up. Don't get too, okay. So I mean my puns here. So don't get too, I guess, don't get too hung up on having it perfectly straight. And the reason why we're using these gauges of wires instead of 12 gauge stem wires is because I want to maintain a really thin stem and at the same time still building up the stability of the stem without it affecting the bulkiness of the stems. So the 16 gauge stem wires will be mainly on the bottom of the stems to help build up the stem so that it can stand on its own, so there's some stability, so it won't just kind of be all floppy and falling over. And for the middle stems, we'll be using 18 gauge stem wire to maintain the thinness of the stems. This is how we'll be setting up the branches. For branch A, we'll be needing 1 of leaf A and 4 of leaf B. And for branch B, we'll be needing 1 of leaf A and then 6 of leaf B. So these are the two variations of branches that we'll be making. Now with these two setups, you can change up where you want the berries and where you want the blossoms also. So that is completely up to you. So I can replace a berry here, and I can replace a blossom here. If you want more berries, you definitely can. If you want more blossoms, you definitely can. Just going to replace them like that. So that's how we'll be doing that. So it's all completely up to you. However, the amount of blossoms and the amount of berries you want on your branches. So I'm not sure how many berries and how many blossoms I want yet on each branch. That's just going to be, it'll be a surprise as I go. It just depends on how I'm feeling as I'm assembling it. First, I'll be assembling the top branch, and for that we'll need setup A, and we'll need a 16 gauge length of stem wire here. Before we begin, let's shape all these leaves. Shape first, okay? I'm going to prep the stem wire here, just so that it sticks better. I don't want to go down all the way, but I think just enough to get it started. Just gonna put the leaf A onto the stem here and wrap this in. At this point, you can also floss your stems if you like. And for the sake of time, I am not flossing, but I would like to. Okay, so I think I'll do a blossom. And this next one. This is about an inch or so of space in between. And we want to have the 16 gauge stem wire for the top stem because we do want that stability to start out with, right? So, okay, so go down about an inch and a half or so again and wrap in another leaf B. Right, and I think I want a leaf B here, but without any berries or blossoms. Just gonna break that up. Okay, and now a berry. And depending on how sticky your fluoro tape is, you can go down all the way or not. My fluoro tape is not very sticky, so I'm just going to go down, completely down the stem. So I have the top stem assembled with the 16 gauge stem wire. Now all of the next stems where you have this setup with the 5 leaves will be on 18 gauge stem wire. We just want to have the slimmest stems possible without adding on bulk, but at the same time still to be able to have that stability with your stems. So I find that using the combination of the stems will give you the slimmest stems possible. If you look at the Ruscus in nature, they are the stems are quite slim. So as we're translating it into beads, that's what we're going for too. And here is a dach. So I'm going to prep this here. Alright, so how do I want to do this? Just let's change it up. I'm going to do berries next, a berry next. Okay, and I'm going to do a leaf. Do I want to do a blossom so that they're both on the same side? Do I? Let's do that. Let's change it up, right? Okay, now another leaf right here. So now I have the top branch with the 16 gauge stem wire assembled, and then the lower branch with the 18 gauge stem wire. And the thing that I was doing with while I was making this, I like to assemble this as I go, and then make more branches if I want to. It just kind of gives me that level of satisfaction that something is happening. So that's what I'm doing in this bead-along, in this class, is I'm gonna assemble it as I go, just so that you also have that satisfaction of having something made, or that it's coming along and it's not just a bunch of leaves and petals and flowers everywhere, right? It's happening. Things are happening. All right, so let's wrap these together. And then you can stick this in your vase and then see the progression as you bead more and make it, right? You can make a smaller branch, you can make a bigger branch, you can go as small as you want, as big as you want, as you are beading it. Now we are ready to attach the third stem that is on the 18 gauge stem wire. And I'm just going to put it right, I'm going to put it here on this side. right over here, about 1.5 inches below the last one. And now I'm going to attach the next one. This one about another 1.5 inches, or I have about 1 inch or so, right along the back of the 3 of these. So that it's not right next to each other, kind of like this. It's kind of behind, so it kind of gives some more interest. And then we'll shape it later. All right, so another 1.5 inches or so. And I'm going to attach the next one. How do I want it? Do I want the berries facing out, or do I want it facing in? So just play around with it, see how you want it. I think I want it here. Now the stem is going to get a bit heavy there. Hello, hello. Next, we're going to attach the ones with the 6 leaves. That is on the 16 gauge stem wire, and that will help you, giving you a stabilized stem. Because if we keep using 18 gauge stem wire, this is not going to be sturdy enough for your stem to hold up. So by using the 16 gauge stem wire, it will help you get stability. Okay, where do I want it? I guess I have it here since we're at the flower tape. And we're just going to keep going down about 1 inch or so, 1.5 inches. The spacing is up to you. Next one. Okay, and this is the last one. Heavy. I'm going to grab my heavy duty cutters because I'm going to cut these so that these are flush. It's going to end about here, it looks like. Now, if you wanted a longer stem, you would want to start out with a longer length of stem wire to begin with. So I started with an 18-inch length of stem wire, and so this is where you would end up. You would end up with, let's see, about 6 inches of stem wire for you to insert into your vase. If you want a longer length of stem wire, you would want add another about 4 inches to your initial cut stem wire, which is about, what, 18 plus 4 is 22 inches to start out with. I'm going to cut the stem wires before I finish wrapping. Okay. Just knocking my camera here for it being so heavy. All right, now we are ready to shape this. If you are making the leaves as you go, if you're attaching as you go, then you can shape them. It's a little awkward shaping it on camera on a surface. I normally like to shape it, hold it up in front of my face and shape it. So I'm gonna have to, I just want to show you how I would do this. And then I'm going to shape it properly, not under a camera, and I'll show you. So this is how I've shaped it. I wanted to curve to the right. You can have it curved to the left, however you want to do that. And then shape each of the stems. I have the top stem right here, which is on the 16 gauge stem wire. And then just kind of bending the rest of the side stems towards the left in a curved manner also. You can also bend it down and bend the stems up to give it more shape. Bend down in a N shape and then bend back up, kind of like in an S shape. So having it in kind of like an S shape just gives it more, just more movement and more interest. Just like how I have shaped the leaves as well. And for these stems on the left, I'm bending it to the left, and you can also kind of bend it back a little. And depending on how you are displaying this, you can have the berries, if this is in the round, you can have some of the stems facing this way instead of all facing towards one way. For this particular branch, I have the berries facing all this way because that's how I wanted it. You can also make two branches, two of these branches, and have the other one face this way. So that way it's in the round. Now in this next part, I'll be showing you how to make the Ruscus Blossoms. The Ruscus plant is interesting in that the blossoms and berries grow right out of the leaves. Determine how many of these blossoms you like to make. You can have as many or as little as you want for the entire branch. Later, we'll be making the leaf by first attaching the blossom. For reference, in my sample, I used about 6 to 7 blossoms. The materials list and schedule is in the description if you haven't grabbed that yet. Now I'll be showing you how to make these Ruscus blossoms. And for these blossoms, you'll need size 15 seed beads. I do not recommend that you use size 11 seed beads. They will be too large for these tiny, delicate blossoms. We'll be using white, cranberry, and yellow. You can also replace the cranberry with like a deep purple color too. The cranberry is what I chose. So this is how I have my beads set up with the white and the yellow in one, and I'm going to have the cranberry in this quick change tray on top of the Spin and Bead Junior. And I'm going to cut out 15 inches of gold copper core wire. So, okay, here's 15. And I'm using gold instead of either white or like a reddish color because the top is in yellow, so I wanted to stick with gold for that. But I think you can also use white too without problem. So to start out, we're going to string on 10 of the cranberry onto the wire here. So 5, 10. All right. We're going to leave about a 2-inch tail. And I'm going to make our loop. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a crossover loop. but instead of going all the way, we're going to add that yellow top on there. So we're going to bend the wire up, and I'm going to string on more of the cranberry. So now we're going to string on 5 of the yellow beads onto the wire. So this is where we normally make the crossover loop over here, but we're going to make the loop, the 5 bead loop instead. So put your put your nail over the cranberry beads here, and then push the yellow beads on this side and make your loop. And this could be a challenge because there's just 5 beads here. If you have a lot of bare wire space, just make another twist, or 2 or 3 or 4. This is what we're going to do. We're going to put the wire over here like this, right? But we're going to string the beads on first. All right. So remove the excess beads. So I have about 7 of the beads here to finish the crossover loop. All right, so we're going to wrap All right, so now I'm going to string the white beads on. So I have about 5 inches of the white beads here. Just make a loop at the end. So now we're going to make some continuous loops, and we're going to alternate between 20 bead loops and 15 bead loops. So you can start with either. I'm just going to start with the 20 bead loops. And then the 15 bead loop. We want to make the loops until there are 6 total. Okay, so we've got 6 loops right there. All right, so now we're going to take the loops here and wrap it around the center. We're going to take these 2 ending tail wires. Just take the working wire and wrap it around the tail wire there, right? And now we're going to reposition one of the tail wires to the other end. Right now they're both on one side. So we just want to have this tail wire repositioned to right over here, just kind of opposite the first wire, so that it's a lot more stable, so that there's a wire on either side right there. All right. So now we're going to shape our little blossom. And here we are. If you like this project and would like to learn more, you may be interested in my 2 French beading books. My first book, Bead Flora, The Revival of French Beaded Flowers, will walk a beginner step by step on how to make French beaded flowers. And if you like this Ruscus project and would like more projects like this, you may want to pick up my second book, Bead Flora, French Beaded Branches in Bloom. You can get signed copies on my website or buy at all major book retailers online.